right, welcome back. Next song on the list, Just 23 Things Before You Go. Song just initially from the title of the song. Is this going to be a introspective, emotional type, thoughtful song?
It's not a love song.
No, I almost meant is it or is it? And I think the reason this popped into my head. In fact, I know it's why on the drive over here. Bluetooth music off my phone in my car, and I just hit my playlist that I have, and the first one that came up was Five for Fighting 100 Years. You've only got 100 years to live. I made the mistake of listening to that whole song on the way over. I'm literally tearing up. So I was wondering if it was one of those introspective, thoughtful, meaning of life songs, or am I completely reading into this?
No, it's not the meaning of life by any means.
Okay,
No.
Please, you guys should be talking about this.
Well, so the 23 things, the idea actually came from getting ready in the morning. I
totally misread that.
Yeah, for whatever reason, as I was like, okay, well, I just have to do this and this and this and this. And then I was like, it's a lot of stuff before I get out the door. So I ended up counting, and it was like 23 things. And then it started bouncing around in my head because it sounds kind of nice, just 23 things before you go. So the concept of the song was everything adds up to 23. This one's a duet. And so it's kind of this back and forth, thing where we almost are stepping on each other's lyrics, right? About, these verses that we share back and forth that always add up to 23.
Literally.
Yeah. So if she sings a line and the two lines, or the first half of the verse, she'll sing two lines and that adds up 23, and then I'll sing two lines and that adds up to 23.
Right. So the first one for me is I've got 14 ways in just 9 days to tell you how I feel.
Oh,
And then
that's the lyric. That's
And then
one of the lyrics.
my 15 plans to save
Okay.
spend $8,000.
On getting over you.
Getting
is
over
that
you.
and that goes throughout the whole song?
Yeah.
That type of back and forth.
Yeah. Wow. Now, was that kind of hard to throw? It's easy to pick two numbers that add up to 23, but then you have to make it flow with the entire line of words.
Yeah, it's a little trickier to sing because the vowels and consonants don't always work really good for a good vocal.
Right.
So it's a bit of a challenge that way.
Then okay, so was the original idea for the song what you were saying? List of things I have to do before I leave the house. Did that just come to you one day and decided to write a song about it? And then in the process, you guys jumped onto this idea of let's make every line 23.
Well, Frank had like a really cool kind of, melody, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then she had that, and
Yeah, and so
put it in a little thing and shook it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I had that idea about 20 to 23, what if, everything added up to 23, and so kind of bounced that around, and that day he brought that progression.
And
yeah.
this was a chord progression. You just one of the ones you had tucked away in your imaginary notebook of ideas, which I think.
Just one of those things that comes, and I grab a guitar or a phone, or I try to hum a guitar part, that kind of thing.
If you don't have a guitar there, you just try to hum it into your voice recorder.
Yeah.
But you had that, and we're like, hey, this could work for this song.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty much how it is.
Yeah. And that's how most of our stuff worked, is, I have an idea from that morning. I tend to write something every morning.
Okay.
But unless we're working together, then, the idea kind of floats away. I write it down, but I, like most people, don't want to go back and look at it again. So Frank squirrels his melodies away. I squirrel my lyrics away. And
That was a callback to one of the other episodes, the
yeah.
squirrel thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true though. We both have this stuff that's kind of tucked away, and so
Yeah,
it's
the key to all that is actually organizing it and being able to retrieve it. You know?
Yeah. So
It's not so easy.
you have a bunch of either. Is it all in digital form? Where when you get a chord progression idea or a little riff you want to save, do you ever write just literally write down?
Oh, I whatever is available at the moment.
Okay.
I'll write down a chord progression,
Okay.
or sometimes I'll do interesting chord inversions that would take a while to reanalyze just listening to them. So I'll try to aim the video camera at my guitar, show where I was on the neck.
That's brilliant. Now that we all have a camera on our phones, that's some easy way so that instead of just writing down CGD, you can actually video how you want to play it.
Yeah, it just I mean I could figure out and actually write out that chord inversion, but it's a lot of work.
It's easier to just
me.
record yourself.
Yeah,
Because then you'll notice if you happen to do anything unique, a hammer-ons or pull-offs or a slide or something.
oh, yeah, and I'm really old school. I didn't grow up with tabs, which is designed for guitar players. That
Right.
shows all hammer-ons, bends, pulls, and,
Yes.
and everything else that goes with it. That's all foreign to me. It came after my practicing years. Well, I mean, not that I don't practice, but I spend hours every day doing scales and all that kind of stuff. But that was then.
And then 23 was the number of things that do you literally have to do 23 things before you leave your house every day?
just that morning, right? Like everything for me, like, so I first thing I do almost every morning is, this like introspective quiet time where I'm writing stuff down, and that's where a lot of stuff comes from. And so that morning, that's what was top of mind.
Is that almost like journaling every morning? It's not necessarily intentional to try to write a song. Are you just kind of journaling?
Kind of, yeah. So sometimes sometimes it's more an idea or a concept. Sometimes it's it's an idea or a concept that comes from journaling, but it's it always ends up being like more conceptual, like more of a bigger life idea, and then sometimes that'll morph into something. Sometimes that's something I want to chase down that I think is universal, because you're always looking for something that other people can identify with too,
And
right?
connect with.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that's every morning. That's kind of how I get my mindset before I start, communicating with people, so I can kind of keep my own.
Before
lane.
you have to deal with the other humans.
Yeah, because for me, and maybe it's this way for everybody. It's hard for me to kind of hold on to who I am when I'm around a lot of other people, and that could be because I am kind of an introvert. Well, I am an introvert. There's no kind of about it, right? I can go feral and never leave the house if I give myself that room, but. Yeah, so it's good for me to like balance myself and figure out what's really in my mind, what's really in my heart before I start interacting with other people, so I don't morph in other directions that don't really serve me.
Oh, it's almost like you want to center yourself before.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Morning tea, morning coffee, sit down with a journal, just you time.
Correct.
Yep, pets. I don't know if I've ever asked you about that.
I do.
I mean, other than the puppy
there's
that's here.
one
but
under my feet right
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that one.
Just that one.
She would say she's enough. Yeah. Maddie, you want some camera time? Come here, buddy. Come on. Come here.
Maddie.
Come.
And I'm assuming Maddie's right there with you every morning while you're doing this.
Oh yeah, she's never far from me. But apparently she's a little camera shy right now.
That's fine. I'm sure she'll make an appearance eventually.
There we go.
So, okay, it's actual studio time trying to put this thing together. What was that like? Any cool stories from it, or just how long did the whole thing take before you were happy with the finished product?
Well, we went into the studio pretty prepared. Just the behind the scenes on some of these songs, a lot more time than it would seem, but we got all our arrangements, our harmonies, phrasings, all that stuff. We just got together and fine tuned it to the point where when we went in the studio, it was, basically very, very mechanical in that sense. That, everybody had their notes.
Oh,
I did up the instrumentation as best as I could.
Right.
I'm a guitar player really, but I can play keyboards enough to get ideas down. I can play bass enough to get the idea across, and somehow, pound out a drum thing
On an iPad.
on the iPad or whatever, or Beat Buddy or whatever's available, and just to get the idea. And then so we had all that stuff in demos, and then we wrote out studio charts, or basically lyric chord charts. And
Okay.
then Timmer was essentially kind of the catalyst in putting that all together with the studio musicians.
So you're talking about once you guys had all your demos ready to the studio you're mentioning is the actual. Let's give them a plug again because I'm forgetting some of the names.
Roseleaf Recording with
And-
Jimmy Bott's studio.
Got it. And this was where you had the other musicians that were actually helping you put down the final tracks.
Yeah, that's where we did all the basic rhythm tracks and vocals.
And then I remember you were working with Timothy James.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, he was our engineer. He did
Okay.
a great job.
Yeah,
and then
he co-engineered with Jimmy.
Okay.
Bott.
So
Right.
Jimmy
Bott.
Bott. Okay. And
Yeah.
then Timmer.
And Timmer on
he played bass.
and
What's his
and
full name?
Blakely.
Okay.
Timmer Blakely.
And
Okay.
and he also kind of produced. Like Timber
Yeah.
did a good job of directing things. Like, yeah, that was good, but we can do better. We got another one in
Okay.
us. So he was really good about knowing when it was done and when we could do a little bit more. And that's a key thing, right? So you don't sit and spin, because it can always be a little bit better, but I think that's where people get tripped up creatively.
Because at some point you have to release the song and put it out there.
Yeah,
Right.
So it's almost good to have somebody there that can say, okay, we got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
right.
you gotta, because as the creators of this art, you're probably never going to actually be satisfied.
No,
you're
that's
gonna
why
listen to it 2 years from now, and you're gonna go, God, that
could've
friggin'
done this."
snare.
That's why they never make it out of my home studio. I just keep polishing and polishing.
Right.
And I can never be satisfied.
And that's why this kept us honest, like knowing that we had a limited amount of time to work together, knowing that we had we wanted to give each song 2 weeks, 1 week to write, 1 week to record was our initial plan. Knowing that we had this finite amount of time, it kept us honest in actually getting stuff done. I think if we would have just decided, let's write together, but not pinned it down and realized that we had, an end point.
Yeah, you needed a deadline.
We
Yeah.
needed a deadline. I think creativity is way better in scarcity, and this imposed scarcity on us that was good.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that helped for me too. I mean, it definitely helped.
Because you have a goal and you're working for it and it's on a timeline.
Yeah.
So you can't just get up one day and I don't feel like going in.
Right, yeah. And then and the goal, you mentioned goal, and I think that was something that was super key for both of us, right? Is like, my goal, since I don't have any kids, at least none that I know of.
We have talked about this before.
Yeah.
You would know.
Right.
I know the 80s were crazy.
I know. But anyway, it's you want to leave something behind, right? And so, that's my overarching goal, is to like leave something behind, right? And Frank had a bigger goal too, and
A bigger goal.
Not bigger. I mean, really, essentially the same. I've done a lot of recording, but it's always involved a band and band politics and
Are there politics in bands?
not for us.
but it's all been good. But anyway, this is just a whole fresh approach, which is great. Because I think we got some good stuff out of it.
Oh, the whole album, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and hopefully more.
Hopefully more, right?
Yeah.
So just 23 things before you go. All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in on this song?
Oh, yeah, back to the recording thing. So when we did all those basic tracks, then Brady Goss, that played keyboards, He did a lot of his keyboard parts at his home studio.
Okay.
And at his leisure.
Okay.
And then and I went back and did lead at his studio as well. And Timothy was the engineer on that. And of course Timothy did all the mixing at the final mixing. So.
Okay.
And then I did some solo stuff in my home studio after I figured out what I was doing. It's I got all the toys. I just gotta spend time learning how to use them.
Well, hey, that's what keeps us young, is you're always learning, never too old to learn. And I think we might have covered this in one of the other episodes. I don't remember, even though I've listened to them all. The whole recording process of getting the final versions down. You're not using tape. This is all digital, right?
Oh yeah, Dad, tape's long gone.
That's what I thought. Okay, I know, stupid question. I'm just curious.
It's not a stupid question. I think there might still be people that enjoy tape. It might be one of those retro things still.
Well, yeah, actually, old tape. I mean, the quality is unbelievable.
I think the reason that popped in my head is
not cassette, by the way.
Oh, right. The Foo Fighters recorded that album. It's probably 8 or 10 years ago now. I think it was in 2013, but they literally did it in Dave Grohl's garage, and they brought in all the analog equipment. They recorded it actually on tape.
Yeah.
So it was. There's little mistakes in there because they didn't go back and correct everything
like
with Pro Tools. Yeah. Yeah. So. But obviously in this day and age, it's a lot more convenient to use digital. And also, I would assume the whole analog system's just not as available as it used to be, right? It's just not out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff out there, but tape in general is not as accessible.
Right.
And then some of the old tape from years past is decomposing. So a lot of studio masters are just falling apart.
Oh, because it wasn't kept I guess that would have to be kept in a climate control.
A chemical thing they're finding out.
So it wasn't about
even
poor
if it was
storage.
Well, the combination all above. If you have poor storage, you're toast.
So is that I don't want to get off on track. We're supposed to be focusing on your guys' music, but I mean, so there's a problem where a lot of old masters we might lose them.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming they've all been converted to digital by now anyway. But
I mean, I wouldn't assume they all have, but I'm sure.
But we might lose some stuff. That sucks.
Yeah, I think some stuff didn't make it.
Well, then it's actually a good thing you guys did digital, because we're never going to lose Feather and Fur music. It's going to be out there forever.
Unless you lose the hard drive or
make sure you
fails.
guys put this on a solid state drive. I think they're pretty much indestructible. Keep a copy in a fireproof safe.
Yeah, even those have issues. Everything has an issue. It's like an LED light bulb. They do burn out.
Eventually,
it's just the bulb doesn't burn out. The electronics that power it burn out.
Yes.
I like to say nothing is
Fine
foolproof. Just things are fool resistant, but never foolproof.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right.
All right, we're good on this one.